Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a great afternoon. I know we're at the 2 p.m. mark here at AWE Day 2, and I'm sure you've already been up. You've been networking all morning. You know, hopefully you've had some coffee. You've got out to the expo floor. Check out all the new technologies that's being showcased there, and of course, and there's all these different sessions with some really amazing conversations. And so up next, you know, we're looking at how new technologies today, and I think we had this quick conversation, you know, with NERF and LiDAR, AR, VR, how it's changing the way we work with first responders, how it's changing the way we do rescues and approach different scenarios. And so I have Dan Munsey, who's from the San Bernardino County Fire Department, and Kirk McKinzie from McKinzie Smart Technologies up next. Their session is a smart community risk reduction and emergency response discussion. So please welcome our two next guests.
Thank you, Bobby. And thank you to Ori and Sonia and everybody for putting together AWE. Are you switching up on me?
Yeah, I look up to you, Kirk.
That's nice, Dan. I appreciate that.
Continue on.
Thank you. Okay, he's a bit of a card. But Chief Munsey leads the San Bernardino County Fire, about 20,000 square miles. And he and I have been working together about what do we do to bring modern technology to the fire service. It's awesome to be speaking to developers and enterprise members that are going to help us get there. And here's one of the teams that I have had the privilege to work with.
Howard Hughes' Spruce Goose assembly hangar and home to much of the first Ironman technology. It's advancing faster and taking less time to be widely adopted than ever before.
Human enhancement and augmentation have been around through human history and mythology, from Prometheus stealing fire to the matters of life and death. To replace not just what was lost, but enhance what we already have.
Every 2 hours and 45 minutes, a U.S. citizen dies by fire in their own home. We've lost more than 3,000 a year consistently for 30 years. With machine learning and AI, to progress to a place just a couple years ago we couldn't have imagined.
Can machine learning take us even further? See-Through's created a mask with special glasses clipped inside, which allows firefighters to see edges as green lines in an augmented reality overlay. The mask detects subtle changes in brightness to predict shapes invisible to the human eye.
What we're working on is really a game-changing tool that has the potential to transform how work here is done.
Copy.
We're at the dawn of a new age, the age of AI.
That's a lot to take in for a lot of firefighters, because the reality is that's not the way we do business today, even though this technology has been progressing for several years. Any firefighters? I know this guy right here. Anybody else in public safety? Well, thank you for showing up to this presentation, which arguably to me is the most important presentation that we can have at an event like this. I want to show you the reality of the situation. It's 1903, this movie was made. It's called The Great American Fireman. We're not allowed to say firemen anymore. We say firefighters for obvious reasons. But as I watched this movie in 1903, 120 years ago, what's crazy to me is that what they show in this movie is exactly what we do today. Now, this movie, when it was produced, was the first movie that actually told a story, which is interesting to me, because previously the filmographer just set up on a city street and the story was the live action. We saw a little bit of the quick technology here. And as much as we'd like to be there today, we need your help to get there. Now, these products are coming to market, but the firefighters are missing a lot of the infrastructure and the ability to visualize what mixed reality, augmented reality, and virtual reality can do for us. Firefighters as a whole look at these concepts as being nothing more than gaming. And there's nothing more that's just not even close to true. This is how we're going to do business in the next couple of years.
Thank you, Chief. All the wires in this were installed by 8 PhDs, half of them from NASA, on a DHS-funded project. And you'll notice a little VR headset icon down on the bottom. You could be inside the 360 video that was conducted for JPL to feed thermal data into their system. But gratefully, a friend out of Australia came up and captured the video. You can see some good fire video and 360 video from the River Reality and Virtual Reality team and the Expo Center. What can we do to change the way we educate the public and train firefighters, because you don't have even 2 minutes. That's 1800 F at the floor, about 1 minute, 15 seconds.
Fires are burning quicker than they ever have before, and firefighters are not seeing the fires that we used to. Does anybody know what percentage of our calls are actual fires in the fire service across the nation anymore? Shout it out if you do. Anybody have a guess?
3 to 5%.
Yeah, 4%. 4%. And so having this information is critical for us so we understand the thermodynamics or how the buildings are going to burn. So we can work with the engineers to make the world safer, and so we can train our firefighters to effectively put out these fires. But also having this kind of realism allows us to meet with our homeowners and explain the importance of having fire protection systems and smoke detectors in their homes.
This is a little bit more on the AI program out of JPL that fire was done for.
Audrey today runs on some of the most powerful computers in the world. But as computers develop and Audrey becomes more optimized, this is going to move down closer and closer to the edge of where people interact with technology. First of all, it's going to be perhaps on the fire engines themselves and the vehicles. Then it'll be on the first responders' equipment, and then perhaps for people at home, it's in their house and all around them. When first responders are attending an emergency, Audrey can be an extra set of eyes and ears with a perfect memory and the ability to see through smoke or fire, derive temperature from heat haze, and other capabilities that computers can just do better than us. Audrey can augment a first responder's spatial awareness, decision-making abilities, and make them more effective and safer in the field.
But let's talk about the reality again. And we are still operating like this video. It's 120 years ago. Here it's showing a variety of fire apparatus responding to a fire. They don't know anything about that fire. They don't know the configuration of the building. And so they're sending everything they have. And the truth and the reality is fire departments respond like this today. We know more on our iPhones, and our firefighters are in the back of the rigs on their iPhones gathering information. Now the technology is starting to come to us, but it's bifurcated, and it's not actionable. So where are we going? As was mentioned, I'm on the International Association of Fire Chiefs Technology Council as the president. And we're envisioning a brighter future. So we're looking at serverless. Right now, our most important data and information is literally stored on hard drives. We call them CADs, or computer-aided dispatching. And all our dispatch information's in there. So we've been, over the last probably 10 years, networking our CADs together. It's very expensive. And because CADs are proprietary, it's hard to get the information out, but that's crazy. So now we're working at creating a public safety cloud, recognizing that the amount of data that we're going to have access to and stored is going to be more than was ever collected on my father during his entire life in just one day. We have to have a place to do that. And with that, we're looking at edge computing because we recognize that there's still limitations on being able to transmit that data, especially when you work in a county like mine that's 22,000 square miles. You can take 5 of the smallest states in the union and put it in there. We have big time communication issues with our geography, sheer distances, some of the cities and military bases. There's a whole lot of reasons. We're looking at AI ops. How do we use the strategic use of artificial intelligence? And it's important for us to get out in front of public safety to talk about AI can be very safe, especially with the way that we're going to use it. We're using machine learning and machine reasoning to make sense as we aggregate our data, especially when this data is coming to us in a non-standardized form. We have to create the building blocks that make sense. We have to use AI to prevent information overload that's going to our firefighters. We need to give the right information to the right people at the right time in the right format in a way that creates actionable results.
Well said. Some of what we need to train on is for our personnel, but really firefighters are the multiplier because their value is consistent with how many they are for the citizenship. So for each firefighter, there's about 1,500 souls they serve. So what can we do with things like this, a synthetic training environment where we could teach homeowners about, look, if you know there's a fire coming, get the fuel off your deck, the lightweight fuel that's easily ignitable. Get it away from the structure, get your firewood away from the structure. Presumably you've cleaned your pine needles out of your gutter already. And on the right, for when the firefighters arrive and they should realize, oh, we can't save this house. We need to get out before we have to call a mayday.
I mentioned that firefighters, about 4% of our calls are to significant incidents. So what this is, what you're seeing is a high-risk, low-frequency event for most firefighters. I've been blessed to travel on incident management teams and have seen a significant amount of wildland fires. But that isn't always the case with our personnel, whether they're a brand new probationary firefighter or someone that has 20 years on the line. We need to create immersive learning environments for our firefighters so that they have what we used to refer to as a slideshow. Yes, referring to the old slideshows in the carousel deck. Have a slideshow of events or things that have occurred. We received that slideshow in the past from experiences. Now we have the ability to create virtual experiences. Those of you that have been in the fire service, you'll recognize this, by the way, this is New York City. You can tell that the rookie has good nozzle control there. You can see that they've rescued a couple of victims. Again, this is how we do business. It has not changed. But we recognize that we need to change our reality. That augmented, mixed reality, virtual reality are a thing. In the public safety, we just need to know how to get there. We need to partner with the industry to visualize and provide the tools to our firefighters and to our commanders. So we've done some work. We've really focused on creating vehicles as a hub. We have not connected our firefighters yet. You'd be surprised. Firefighters, we can't track them on the fire ground. Even though there's federal acts that in a wildland fire, Dingle Act, that we need to track our firefighters, that was published 2 years ago, we still can't do that. Now we're making headway there, but nobody's doing it. We're working with smart firefighting with the heads-up displays that we need. Working with tracked and virtual tools, pictures, wearables that are connected. Next generation 911 is connecting our dispatch centers to our responders and to the public so that we have the information that we need. FirstNet connectivity and then smart cities is something I think about a lot. As cities become smart, how are we going to ingest that data into our operations? A great example is this building. There's a digital twin of this building somewhere. It's probably on somebody's hard drive. And probably nobody knows where to go get that file. And who needs it? Public safety. If this building's on fire, we want to be able to visualize where people are in this room. Are they headed towards the exits? How many people are not moving? Where is the fire? Is the fire increasing in size? Where are firefighters as they're moving through this building? If there's a collapse, there's a lot of information that we just don't have access to. So we're working hard on creating that. But what happens when we're non-connected? So we're doing a lot of studies with creating bubbles so that we can communicate peer-to-peer. We're working on off-grid operability, edge computing, which is allowing us that when we do have that connectivity to immediately update our information in our common operating pictures and platforms. I'm going to show you a couple of things we're working with UASs. And the biggest here for this group is the amount of surveillance, overwatch the data that we're collecting. A great example is I knew an area was going to flood. We had had a fire, there was a fire scar there. Fire scars are notorious for the water rushing off. I had our team fly that flood area, capture the data, and after the flood came, they flew it again. And we were able to immediately compare and understand where were the structures, where did they used to be, where would we find victims, where were the roads. So we were able to tell the damage. The helicopter on the right is completely autonomous. There is no pilot. It's completely autonomous. There's not even a pilot in charge. We're working to install camera systems across California. We're working with a large company to install AI on those cameras that can detect fires. Then we're connecting them to fully autonomous helicopters that automatically lift off from the ground. They're using modeling to determine where the fires are going to go, and they're making a determination on what kind of drop they're going to place in this fire. They're going to drop a stream ahead of the fire, what we call a trail drop to prevent the fire spread, or are they going to drop on the fire? This isn't theory. This is what we're putting in practice today. We're also using those helicopters for beyond visual line of sight, drones as a first responder, all of which relays very carefully into augmented mixed reality and virtual reality operations. We're using them for logistics, retardant, and ignition.
The chief mentioned about knowing where the citizens are. I mean, this is a favorite dialogue for me. And so quick question about privacy and security. Would you share your data? Would you share the 3D data of your home if it would save your life or someone you love? We see in active shooter incidents and fires, earthquakes, people text their parents to say goodbye. We need to connect the citizens to the responders. So we're doing stuff like down in San Bernardino County, there's a crash rescue site. And if you're a firefighter on a crash rescue west of the Rockies, there's about a 95% chance that you will come to this site every year to train as mandated by law. And yet, here it is running in a mixed reality Unity platform that I can show you on my phone, and you could be inside there. And it is multiphysics based, comparing to the propane gas that is used in the training. So firefighters could stay updated. They could practice recognition prime decision on key decision making. They can be aware if they've never been there, brand new firefighter, never been to crash rescue, they could do a little pre-training to make their time on the ground all that much more effective. Captured with point cloud data, photogrammetry, and some friends putting something together as a proof of concept. And thank you to the enterprise and developers that are going to help us get to be able to field this in real time. Like, how do we get to live spatial computing in an emergency response?
So I'm blessed to work for an agency that's always been tech forward, tech thinkers, and it's from the bottom up to me, the fire chief. And so we're always looking for partners in the industry to come and explore what we can do. And the rest of the nation does watch our department. And as we deploy technology, they start thinking, oh, we need to do this too. We have the mindset, though, that technology needs to be interoperable. We don't want silos of technology. We don't want silos of information. We do ask that as an industry, we work together so that we can take what we're doing and we can add it into our common operating pictures platforms and ingest it together and share it.
Another mixed reality application that is a great, really kind of fielded research ideas. I just mentioned the chief this morning. We just passed a phase 1 with NASA for a live synchronized wildland digital twin model. The phase 2 ask would be for a number of $1 million over a couple of years to do a study where in the wildland setting, we use IoT sensor fusion, ML, AI, digital terrain maps, Esri maps, open source geospatial consortium. Maybe there's some Google 3D tiles that we can use. And like in this demonstration from some friends, they had the 3D asset, whether it's DWG or OBJ file, but the assets that you all, or many of you, work with, and then they ran that through a fire foam, which is an advanced science-based fire modeling program to show how that fire would propagate.
I'll kind of start wrapping this up again, but we're working really hard on the operational awareness for our firefighters. We're working hard on creating common operating platforms instead of pictures that are not in silos. We're working hard on the CAD-to-CAD information sharing and the push towards the cloud. All of this is more than fires, though. I mentioned 4% of our responses are to fires. The fire department does so much more. We do rescue, we do emergencies, we do the hazmats, we do the cave rescues, we do the mine rescues, the technical rescues, building collapses, the flooding, the car crashes. If there's something bad that goes on and somebody doesn't know who to call, they're going to call us. So we're...
Our timer is not keeping speed, so I want to make sure we get to...
So we're looking for the software for our emergency medical dispatching, and we're creating nurses in our dispatch center and community risk reduction. All of what we're doing today and visiting relates to that.
And the amount of calls, it's 700,000 calls into dispatch every day. 99% of those go great. 1% not so much. That's 7,000 lives a day in America that are lost, and we have a phone number. So thank you to all of you for developing the parts and pieces that'll do things like allow us to track our firefighters. Bobby was just talking to me about this team out of Buffalo, New York. It's called 3 a.m. because he lost a brother firefighter in a house fire early in the morning. Called the Mayday. They didn't know where he was. So they've done a great job of starting to track our personnel. Here's another good team that's visiting today.
Rick, I need you to launch inside the building. I have a missing firefighter that's disoriented. Or like a different team member.
Exactly. So because this is a multi-user application.
These are a couple of the developers working on this piece. Please catch up with them if you want to have a look at it. I spent 25 years at this fire department. In total, I ran about 10,000 calls over 32 years, which by the numbers is about 100 fatalities. And so my life's work now is to figure out what's next for a firefighter that calls a Mayday, and more important, for a citizen that doesn't have compressed air on their back. They don't have the training, they don't have the experience, they don't have a fire hose, for instance. What if we could know where they were, where the firefighter's been, and when the firefighter finds someone, we can go and rescue that citizen that's unprotected and doesn't have much time in a hostile fire event, or we could rescue the firefighter when they call a Mayday. And I'm watching the time up here, Bobby. We're still at 6 minutes? Oh, we have to give you time for transfer. Okay.
Mayday, firefighter 1, lost, got that ready for my crew.
I've got you located on the first floor. I need you to go to the left.
Yeah, so what do you want? Two-way voice, or do you want something more? And my vision is, I'm trying to find somebody at Niantic that wants to pick this up, Pokey 911, or we can call it 911 Go. When you come visit a facility like this, you have the building information modeling, the point cloud, a 3D file, so you can find your way out. That's the old training tower where I spent like a lot of years sweating and bloodying my knees.
So we want to thank you for your time today. As I mentioned, both Kirk and I were interested in partnering with the industry. We struggle with our own peers because many of them don't understand where we're going. Our message lately has been to fire chiefs, focus on the culture or new vision of where we're going to be in 10 years, because if you're not thinking about it, you're not going to get there. The second thing we're talking about is create the backbone to support the technology in the future. The third, train the new generation for the tools that you're going to need. The fourth is, you'll hear this a lot from my industry, is we can't afford that. We don't have new money. Okay, well, you're supporting a lot of legacy technology. Get rid of that and start thinking towards the future. Thank you very much.
Do we have 2 minutes for one question?
We have 2 minutes, so if anyone has a question, we could definitely get one in. We have one over here.
Actually, 2 questions. I don't need a mic. I got a good voice. I work for the rail industry, and I work in the safety department. With what just happened in Palestine, Ohio, with systems like Audrey and whatnot, have we looked at reaching out to the railroads where you get like the SDS sheet of what's going to happen beforehand, getting out there so they know how to respond? Because part of the results of that, they said the fire department was unprepared. They didn't know how to respond to the hazmat and know what they needed to do.
Yeah, interesting. So we do, as we're responding, there's a web-based application that we use for that, but we have to get on the web to do it. So we're really looking at aggregating all that information.
And you have it on the display heads up right when you're coming
and then use AI to say, okay, because of this and this and this, these are the actions that you need to take. A railroad emergency for most jurisdictions is, again, a very low frequency, high risk event. And the case you just mentioned was very devastating. Funny thing, but I just went and visited our congressional members, and I had conversations regarding technology in the rail, and I brought a big paper map because they still like paper, and it showed that there was 26 derailments within our jurisdiction in the last 3 years, and it shocked them. But our nation, while we train for this a lot, most of the first responders out there have never seen a rail incident and have never trained on it. So this is a great case where virtual reality, you can train on it. Augmented reality, mixed reality, you can learn the actions that you need to take when you arrive.
We'll catch the next question in the hallway. I'm watching Bobby's time. Thank you. Okay. Lieutenant, we'll chat afterwards, all right?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much.